and welcome to another edition of Das Re-boot, the show where we put two movies head-to-head, the original versus the reboot, and we see which one gets the boot, or we see which one gets the reboot. I am your host, Zachary Lyle.
And I'm Stephen Jacoby.
And welcome.
We're going to war with this episode, are we not?
That's right. I've got my special fur-lined hat here on for a reason. We're covering Red Dawn. We've got the 1984 version going against the 2012 edition.
Reboot. Yeah. Remember that show?
What show?
Reboot.
Oh my goodness.
I was just thinking about
that was like my ultimate Saturday morning. Me and my brother getting together and watching Reboot, and there was that one other show with it where it was like Monsters Under the Bed.
I don't remember that. I probably turned it off after that.
There was Recess.
I don't remember that. That's beyond my time, I guess. Or before my time.
Yeah, I like to live in the past a little bit.
Anyway, Red Dawn, there's certain cheesiness with Reboot, and there is with the original Red Dawn, I think, but...
There's going to be cheesiness basically wherever you look. It's just depending on, is it going to be Gouda or is it going to be Fromunda?
Or is it going to be RoboCop 1987 versus RoboCop 2014?
Yeah. Speaking of which, if you haven't checked out our very first episode, please do so that way you can hear just how far we've come along.
Yeah, we've discovered American Jesus along the way.
Exactly.
It was awesome. So
I've been converted by the Book of Murphy.
Book of Murphy. You know what? We gotta write that someday, or at least write it as a script for like a podcast narration.
There's going to be something I'm going to have to be writing here called the New Testament, where
New
Testament.
Okay. The New Testament.
Yeah, I guess you could call it the New. But there's going to be a book of Teddy. There's multiple books that I've promised people that if we are going to do this, we're going to do it right. So there's going to be a book of Teddy. There's going to be a book...
Who the hell is Teddy?
We'll get into that later. Right now we need to focus on Red Dawn.
Oh, shit.
1984 versus 2012. Both of them having to deal with war, about the United States being invaded. Little bit of variance between the two.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and start off with 1984.
All right. In 1984, Red Dawn came out. And the synopsis of Red Dawn 1984 is, in the 1980s, the United States has become separated from its allies in Europe and NATO, and now stands alone. The Soviet Union then invades the entire nation of the United States. Our story takes place in Calumet, Colorado, where at a high school, Soviet paratroopers are spotted by teachers and students, and panic ensues. The story focuses around brothers Jed and Matt, along with several friends, as they take refuge in the mountains against the invaders, witnessing from a distance their family and community taken prisoner by the communist forces. While they fight for their lives, they find their inner warrior and begin to fight back against the Soviet forces in guerrilla-style warfare, and naming themselves after their school mascot, the Wolverines. They team up with other ragtag military forces around the area to unleash the fight to retake their town and their country. The film stars Patrick Swayze as Brother Jed and Charlie Sheen as Matt. And it also stars C. Thomas Howell, Leah Thompson, Darren Dalton, Jennifer Grey, Brad Savage, and a lot of other faces that I'm not going to drone about, but they're all good. Believe me.
They're classics.
They're classics. This is directed by John Milius, and is also written by John Milius, as well as Kevin Reynolds. As far as trivia goes, this is Charlie Sheen's film debut. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because later on in the 80s, he stars in Platoon.
Right.
Which is like an instant classic. If none of you seen Platoon, it ranks up there with the war movies like Saving Private Ryan, Apocalypse Now, all those grody films.
We Were Soldiers.
Yeah, oh yeah. So many to name off, but yeah, it's one of those films, and he's not as intense as in this film as he is in that film. However, it's his film debut, so give him a break.
It's his film debut, and he's also playing a teenager that's thrown into a war zone, basically. So,
oh yeah,
it's understandable that he's not going to be quite as hardcore as a actual fully trained soldier.
Indubitably. It's funny to me that both Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey are in this movie, because we know them as being the main stars in Dirty Dancing.
Exactly.
So
I thought it was one of the funniest things in this movie. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
When Jennifer Grey...
Her character's name is Tony.
Yes, when Tony is struck and you sit there, you see her struggling, and I'm sitting there going, nobody puts baby in a corner. Nobody.
Well, it's funny because when they discover her, another spoiler alert coming at you, when they discover her and Leah Thompson in sort of like this underground hidden nook in this house.
I thought they were actually like the granddaughters of the people that owned this house.
Yeah. Well, Jed, Matt, and a few other boys go to the house, and they're hiding their granddaughters away, and the owners of this house, they're hiding the granddaughters away, and it's Leah Thompson and Jennifer Grey. So it's just strange that you have to hide your women away from these communist bastards. Yeah. Are they really that savage, do you think?
Well, considering in the movie they do talk about how they were basically forcing these women into prostitution.
Yeah. Them Cubans.
Darn Cubans.
Damn Cubans. Somebody better call Donald Trump and build a wall around Cuba.
I thought we weren't going to get so political with this, but...
Well, it's hard not to, since it's a war movie.
Very true.
We might get political, but I am not going to tell you to go vote for Trump. I'm not going to tell you to vote for Hillary, but I'm going to make fun of either or while I'm recording this bullshit.
If I'm going to vote for anyone, I'm going for my all-time favorite, Mickey Mouse. If Mickey Mouse cannot lead, then I'm going with my second choice of MacGyver, because he can fix anything.
It's funny you mention that, because I just watched Full Metal Jacket for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and the ending to that film where they're singing Mickey Mouse theme, I couldn't stop laughing. It's such a dark film, dark ending, and the very end they're just singing Mickey Mouse. I don't know if we can sing that.
I don't know either.
Mickey Mouse. Anyways,
we can cut it off at singing.
God damn it. Yeah. We've already had a copyright issue, which means we're doing well.
Yes, exactly. We're being noticed.
We're being noticed. Thank God. Or it could be some Google bot that's taking notice.
You never know.
Skynet. It's bane of my existence.
Come with me if you want to live.
I don't know if we're going to live after this one. Because, well, spoiler alert, everyone almost dies in the end.
Holy cow.
Whatever.
Whatevs.
More trivia underway. The cast underwent an intensive 8-week military training course before filming started, which seems pretty standard. With
usually.
More war films. I remember hearing about Saving Private Ryan and everyone going under training for that. Oh, as far as the plot goes, yeah. Here's one thing that really bothers me. Soviet-Cuban invasion from Mexico. I mean, yeah, I understand, like, the Bay of Pigs and the whole Cuban Missile Crisis, but that was back in the 60s, and this is the 80s. And I'm pretty sure Cuban's infrastructure, while it was, maintained by the dictator there, I'm pretty sure they couldn't, wage war against the United States without Soviet backing up, of course, but still. Cubans, man.
Well, the biggest thing about this is that in 1984, this was actually determined that these were the biggest vulnerabilities to the United States, as done by the CIA and other forces.
Yeah, it was. There was actually an actual United States plan that actually influenced this movie to be, and it's all based off of facts of what the U.S. would do if this would happen. And it was a plausible thing, despite my reluctance to believe that. It was a very plausible thing that could happen, and the United States had a plan for it, and we had a movie to go along with it.
That's right.
So, film made the Guinness Book of World Records for having the most acts of violence of any film up to that time. This is before RoboCop, of course, by 3 years. The ratio is 134 acts of violence occur per hour. So every 2.5 minutes, basically, you're seeing something.
I mean 2.25 minutes.
Yeah, two-ish.
Ah.
Yeah. Another fun fact, Red Dawn was used as a code name to capture Saddam Hussein back in 2003 during the Iraq War. So Operation Red Dawn captured Mr. Hussein. And thank God for Red Dawn.
Thank God for Red Dawn.
Thank God for Red Dawn.
Which leads to thank God for Charlie Sheen. Thank God for Patrick Swayze. Thank God for Leah Thompson.
Yeah.
And thank God for Baby.
Thank God for Baby. So now let me say this. Calumet, if I can say it right, Colorado is a fictionalized version of Calumet, Colorado. But there is, however, a real town in Michigan called Calumet. Yeah.
Indeed.
So, do you know exactly where that is?
It's in the hand.
It's in.
I think.
Okay.
I don't know. It's in the mitt.
Well,
I'm sorry, not the hand, the mitt. Remember, original Ohioan here. I come from the heart.
You come from the heart. Is that what they call it? The heart? Ohio?
I don't know. I mean, it always looked like a heart to me. They're sitting here going, okay, well, Washington, D.C. is the heart of the United States, but Ohio looks like a heart.
I guess so.
I don't know. All I know is that I'm in the mitt now.
But
one in the hand is worth two in the bush. I don't know.
I never understood that reference for the longest time. I don't know why, but anyways. The film takes place in 1989, even though it was filmed in 1984. So I guess 5 years in the future, they were actually thinking this would happen.
It was a projection sort of deal.
Yeah. Also, a more in-depth love story between Jed and Tony was supposed to happen, but that was cut from the final movie. So, Jed being Patrick Swayze and Tony being Jennifer Grey, I guess they cut it and they made the movie Dirty Dancing.
That's why nobody puts Baby in the corner.
Well, they did for this film. They put the entire love scene into a different movie. And that kind of worked out a lot better than this movie, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Well, not unfortunately. I like Dirty Dancing. It's good. It's a good chick flick, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another fun fact. Back in 1984, there was a very, very limited rating scale. You had your G, you had your PG, and then you had your R.
Right.
So this movie was actually the very first PG-13 movie.
Oh, wow.
Director Steven Spielberg suggested to the MPAA that they add a rating system between R and PG because too many of these films either traumatized kids with things that they shouldn't see or unfairly barred them from seeing certain things in films that they should be allowed to view.
You know, I was traumatized by this film when I watched it for the first time. Like, I was probably 12. So, 1996, I watched it. But yeah, I was, thinking about going into the military then. I come from a military family, so I wanted to be in the Air Force. And seeing this film, I was just like, this is the horrors of war. Mm-hmm. Should I really, really go into it now? I still wanted to go into it. I wanted to become a Wolverine.
And the funniest thing about this one is that it got a forced happy ending.
Forced? Really?
It got a forced happy ending.
Despite all of the shit that went down?
Well, a movie about military invasion and guerrilla warfare is bound to have a high body count, but MGM demanded that it end on a positive note. So at the end of this movie, spoiler alert, a voiceover explains that the United States eventually won the war against the Soviets.
I bet they didn't. Or that was the original draft. But it probably had to do with some sort of like test audience thing.
Well, you know, it's one of those things.
I hate when that happens.
Well, remember, we're going over the Disneyfication of movies. Okay, so this is back in 1984 when they were still kind of sitting here going, you know what? You can't end it really dark and dismal. You have to sit here and you have to bring up the audience so that way they leave at least.
Have they not seen Scarface?
When did that come out?
Well, technically he was a villain, and according to the Hays Code, I believe it's called, that was established back in the early 30s or 40s, the villain always had to get punished in the end. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the 80s when... 70s or 80s when they were finally getting away from that bullshit.
Yeah.
So...
You've also got the issue that I've never seen Scarface.
Wow.
Yes. Confessions.
You're fired.
Okay, well, get out.
Well, here's the thing. If they reboot that movie, then I guess you can keep your job. But for now, you're on the whip.
I'm safe.
Okay.
I just have to watch Scarface at some point, maybe Carlito's Way.
At her audition, Leah Thompson was asked if she could ride a horse, shoot a gun, or kill an animal. She said no. And she still got the part.
Well, I guess that's in part why they had to go through all that military training.
Well, it makes sense to me that, you know, these are all high school students. Why would they know how to do all that shit? I mean, yeah, maybe ride a horse or shoot
Boy
a weapon,
Scouts.
but kill, hunt. I've never hunted.
Boy Scouts. I think they explain, if I remember correctly, Patrick Swayze was actually like an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, that's right.
At some point, so it makes sense. You know, back in the 80s, they were sitting here and they were focusing on teaching kids to be able to use firearms responsibly and start fires and hunt, and they were actually teaching men to be men, and now they're teaching men to be boys. Or boys to be...
Men?
Kids.
Boys to men.
Boys to men.
The original title of the script was supposed to be called 10 Soldiers. Or 10 Soldiers, as far as the original pronunciation or emphasis should be on the syllable. 2 years later, Charlie Sheen and Jennifer Grey later co-starred in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And where we all know they got it on there. So, yeah.
In a police station, nonetheless.
What a hoe.
She likes the handcuffs, what can you say?
I hear she's got a scorching case of herpes, too, in that film.
Whoa.
Hey, that's what she says in the film, to get the principal out. It's getting hot in here?
A little bit.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
You got me wanting to watch Ferris Bueller now.
Who doesn't want to watch Ferris Bueller?
Well, you know, it's one of those
Bueller.
things. Yeah. You can't necessarily...
You know what? That catchphrase is good for interrupting you.
Usually.
Yeah. Bueller.
Yeah.
Bueller.
Until I
Bueller.
catch on to your little
Bueller.
scheme here.
Yeah, it's good while it lasted.
Yeah. The other thing you have to realize about this movie is that they had an insane amount of props. They had a huge prop department for this movie.
I would have to imagine. I didn't come all along this on my research, but were they military funded, do you think? I don't know if they were or not, but they did have a lot of tanks, and they had some fighter jets, and I don't know if they had to buy it themselves. According to their budget, which is not that much, I would imagine that they were funded by the military, because I'm jumping a little ahead here, but because their budget was only $4.2 million.
Only?
Only. Yeah. That's minuscule.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to like using these props from the military, you had to pay a pretty penny.
No, I'm not sure if this was government funded or not. However, the Soviet T-72 replica tank that they used for this movie was so accurate that while it was being hauled to the studio, the CIA officials actually followed it and then demanded to know where it came from.
Uh-oh. So they were thinking like they sold...
So...
Or they...
So the heart...
Some black market thing. Bueller.
Yeah, Bueller. Yeah. Bueller.
I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
But that just proves how insanely hard the working crew for the special effects or the props department worked for this movie to sit here and give it such a realistic feel.
Or maybe it was real and it was bought off the black market for very cheap.
The world may never know.
This happens to be a conservative wet dream film as well. I mean, a lot of conservatives romance about the old Cold War era, so this is their old Cold War era film, which is not a bad thing. But they did remake it. Why don't they love that one, Zach? Why don't they love that one?
I don't know. It could be Josh Peck.
Could be.
Maybe. Or Josh Hutcherson. I don't know.
To me, this film, it leaves a mark on me as being like the first war film I ever saw in my life. There were war films before, like Apocalypse Now, Hamburger Hill, maybe?
I don't know.
I'd never seen it, but I remember it being in my parents' and brothers' tape collection. And every time I wanted to pull it out and watch it, they were like, no, too violent. So...
See, you had that, and I had Forrest Gump. That was the one that I always wanted to watch, but my parents were like, no, absolutely not.
You know, you don't see that as a war film. It's hilarious.
Well, I mean, there are parts.
It is.
There are parts where he's in the war, obviously.
Very good 15% of the film.
You know, the most violent movie I had seen up to that point was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So
that is a pretty dark film.
It is. It taught my brother to swear. It did. It was his first swear.
Wow.
Because Raphael sat there and he loses his sigh.
Damn!
He's sitting there going, damn. And my mom's driving the car one day, and all of a sudden from the back seat, she hears my brother, damn.
Yep. Damn it all to hell, as I say.
Which, fun fact for you, this can stay on the broadcast or not, but the Grand Rapids Comic-Con is coming up.
Oh, it is?
It is coming up. It's going to be next month from the 21st to the 23rd.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
And 3 of the original Turtles are going to be there.
Oh, man.
Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael are going to be there.
That gives me an idea. We should go there and record, if we could.
That would, I mean, even for just like a small side broadcast.
Yeah. That would be cool. We should look into that. Stay tuned, people. We're going to Grand Rapids Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
I hope.
Coming October 21st through the 23rd.
Sweet. All right. Well, that's basically all I have for this film. So, do we want to get into the reboot?
I suppose we can get into the reboot here.
All right. The reboot for Red Dawn. 1984 to the 2012... 2014?
2012.
I'm gonna mix it with RoboCop now. God,
would you stop that?
It's my dyslexia, man. It just kicks into gear, and
You were the kid walking around the neighborhood going, "Hi, trick or trout."
No. No, I was actually the kid.
Look out! Here comes the Jacoby boy. We're gonna have to give him all the fish in the fridge.
Fuck you. I actually did mix up the buses I was supposed to get on, but it wasn't a dyslexic thing. It was a colorblind thing. I'm colorblind too.
Interesting.
There were 3 buses, the pink, the blue, and the purple. I was supposed to be on the blue bus. And for some reason, the blue and the purple bus changed positions one day.
Oh my.
And that really fucked up my way home that day. And at least I got home safe and sound.
That's the important thing.
Indubitably.
Unless, of course, they switched you at birth. In which case, you've never truly been home. Mind blown.
don't even know how to respond to that. I'm just trying to comprehend it. You're an idiot.
I know you are, but what am I?
All right, let's go. 19. Oh,
Are we going to take a small break here?
small break.
Small break. 1984 version is done. We are off to 2012 after this short break.
And we're back.
Bueller.
You son of a bitch. You were just waiting for that, weren't you?
I was waiting for that. That's
Oh
why I
my
was
God.
hoping you would say you'd bring us back in.
All right, we're back with Red Dawn, 1984 versus 2012 editions.
Yes, we are on to 2012.
Yep, and Zach's going to take us away with that. So, fire away. Bombs away.
Bueller.
You were a little late there.
Yeah, a little bit, but I didn't want to interrupt you. I was just saying Bueller.
Now you're just fucking with me.
Exactly.
All right. Just do the damn thing, all right?
Okay, I will do the darn thing. And don't mind my lack of language.
Fuck you.
Okay, we're at Red Dawn 2012. The storyline for this, again, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen this film, or it's been a while since you've seen this film.
Here it comes. There it went.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
Always.
The storyline goes, the city of Spokane, Washington is awakened by a North Korean paratrooper invasion. Marine Corps veteran Jed Eckert and his civilian brother Matt escape with a group of friends to an isolated cabin in the woods, where they witness the execution of their father at the hands of the ruthless Captain Cho. The brothers...
Sorry. I thought you were going to say something else there for a second.
Captain
Cho.
Planet?
Captain... Yes. Captain Planet.
Captain Crunch?
Cho...
Cho Mama?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The brothers unite with their friends to form a guerrilla resistance group, the Wolverines, to drive the invaders from their home. This movie is directed by Dan Bradley. We have for the screenplay Carl Ellsworth and Jeremy Passmore in charge of the screenplay, along with the original 1984 screenplay authors of Kevin Reynolds and John Milius. It's starring Chris Hemsworth, Josh Peck, Josh Hutcherson, Adrian Palicki, Isabel Lucas. We have Brett Cullen, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Whole lot of good faces in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Hemsworth is playing our Marine veteran Jed Eckert. Josh Peck is playing his brother Matt. Josh Hutcherson we have as Robert Kittner. Adrian Palicki as Tony Walsh. Isabel Lucas as Erica Martin. Brett Cullen is playing Tom Eckert, the boys' fathers. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is playing Tanner, who comes in later on. The movie was actually shot and completed in 2009 and was originally scheduled for release on November 24th, 2010, but it was shelved for almost 2 years due to MGM's financial troubles.
I remember those troubles, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did they mitigate that?
Well, they just...
They're MGM. They'll live on. They're too big to fail.
They sold the lion.
They sold the lion. That poor lion. Where is he now? Dicks out for Harambe and the lion.
I don't know.
By the way.
Probably some dentist found him.
Teeth out for the lion. You do know the hashtag dicks out for Harambe, right?
No.
It's all about the gorilla that was shot because that kid was in the like he fell into the pit.
Why did they my biggest thing is, why did they shoot the gorilla and not the parent?
My biggest thing is, why are we presenting dicks out for Harambe?
I don't know.
I guess it's just a good feeling, I guess. Dicks out, man.
It's guerrilla warfare.
Nice.
The invading army was actually supposed to be Chinese, but it was changed to North Korean in post-production to maintain access to China's box office.
Really? Post-production?
Post-production.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a money grab right there, though.
The encoded messages on Radio Free America are actually identical to those in the 1984 version.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's some in-depth work right there when it comes to spiriting on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's really cool. I'm sorry, I got the reverse setting on right now, and I'll turn that off. All right, you're good.
The arsonist had oddly shaped feet. It's always good to sit here and see a reboot bring in some of the original content.
Original content and material, no matter how minute it is, too.
Well, I mean, something like that is so minute to the point where I want to go back, I want to watch the 1984 version and then follow it up by the 2012 version.
Absolutely, yeah.
When the group is talking about things that they missed, one person actually says Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 1.
I remember this so prominently and just laughing at it. And then the character's refute was, dude, we're in Call of Duty.
Exactly. But the funny thing is that one stage of Call of Duty. Duty.
You said duty. Yep.
One stage of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is actually called Wolverines, taken from the original movie in which Russia invades America. This was actually the first film directed by stuntman Dan Bradley.
Wait a minute. A stuntman? He was stuntman who became a director.
Mm-hmm.
That's so inspiring. So amazing, actually.
Well, it's interesting to see some of these people start off in one point in.
Well, it's usually like
in the industry and move their way up to another
or something. I mean,
usually it's an actor or a producer,
a writer. But a stuntman, that's awesome.
Well, considering this is a very action-packed sort of movie,
yeah,
it's good to have his perspective behind it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to interrupt real quick, and I'm just going to say there was a time when this movie was shooting, and I was interested in actually being one of the extras in the shot. It was near Detroit that they were filming, I believe, and I was actually going to apply for it. However, my job was, at the time, kind of still is, too demanding, and I couldn't get time off in order to do it. And it would have required like 3 weeks to do it, and that was just too much time off. It would have been fun, though, being part of a war movie. Being in a movie.
Just in general.
Living the dream, come on.
The combination of actors in this movie was actually pretty reputable. I mean, Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Adrian Palicki both had parts in Supernatural, where Jeffrey Dean Morgan was John Winchester, the boy's father.
Yep.
And then Adrian played Sam's girlfriend, Jessica.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I actually saw this movie before I started watching Supernatural with my wife. So if I went back, she actually pointed that out to me. I'm just like, what the fuck's Supernatural? So I don't know.
And in the same year, Josh Hutcherson played with Chris Hemsworth's brother, Liam Hemsworth, in The Hunger Games.
Right. You know, I love Chris Hemsworth. It's too bad he wasn't in the Civil War, which I have not seen yet. But have you seen the little thing where that describes why he wasn't in it?
No.
It's a little 5 to 10 minute video of Chris Hemsworth reprising his role as Thor and how he's like living in Australia with this one guy and just like hanging out. And then Bruce Banner comes to like visit him and like have coffee with him, and they're just like talking about like the whole Civil War. Like, man, they really just gotta get back together, you know. And he was asked if I was asked to be whether with Captain America or Iron Man, I wouldn't be with either. I'd be Team Thor.
That's always the way to go.
Well, the son of Odin, man, the god of thunder. What else are you gonna do?
Well, it's either you go Team Thor or you go Team Hulk. And those usually go along the same lines. So
Indubitably.
you really can't go wrong there.
Indubitably.
I keep losing my place here. So one moment. The film features propaganda pamphlets, posters, and banners featuring People's Liberation Army symbols. And the posters attempt to garner support for a Chinese occupation with slogans such as rebuilding your reputation, repairing your economy, and fighting corporate corruption.
That really seems out of place.
A little bit,
Wow.
but considering they originally started with the Chinese invading instead of North Korea,
Right.
it does kind of make sense. The funny thing is that the changes to the film's antagonists actually cost less than $1 million.
Well, we'll have to get to the numbers to see if they actually really got that $1 million.
That's true.
That's so minuscule. I mean, yeah, they need to like view to the Chinese audience as well, and most of the audience there don't want to be labeled as the antagonists of the film.
Mm-hmm.
But $1 million in today's day is
It's a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket.
It's a drop in the bucket. That's sad.
The closed Notre Dame High School in Harper Woods, Michigan, Greater Detroit, was actually used as a filming location. The school cafeteria was used as the catering hall for the employees.
It's good to know.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
It's coming all back to Michigan. Michigan.
It's funny how the first film kind of had to deal with Michigan, like Calumet, Michigan, and they changed it to Colorado instead as a fictionalized
And they shot in
version of
New
it.
Mexico.
It's shot in New Mexico. And now this one's referencing Michigan, so I feel special.
You should.
I feel very special right
I mean,
now.
we're on the opposite side of the myth, but it's still Michigan.
It's still Michigan, you know. Absolutely. Also, you know, I like the eastern side better than the northern side.
I've never been too far north, so
Well, you know, they call everyone in the UP, the Upers call us trolls underneath the bridge. And I call
okay.
them, yeah.
Let's burn that bridge.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah, and the other thing about this movie is that in early drafts of the script, they actually had the protagonists fighting Middle Eastern terrorists.
Oh. I don't know if that would have really...
I don't know if that would... I think that
Well,
the movie
first
would
of
have
all-
done worse
first
if
of
they
all-
had stuck with that.
The movie's called Red Dawn, and red is a metaphor for communism.
Usually.
So that wouldn't work for Middle Eastern countries.
They could have gone with the blood route, but it would have had to been much gorier.
Well, this is a reboot, though. That's the
It
thing.
is a reboot.
So you can't redefine it. You could, but you have to take on the spiritual nature of the first one and bring it into this next one. And I mean, okay, whatever.
The body count for this movie, I'm not sure if we got a body count for the original one.
I'll look it up while you...
Perhaps. The body count for this one is actually 77 bodies. So it may actually be just a little bit more violent than the original one. But Daryl's fate is yet unknown, but he is presumed dead. So it could be 76, actually. We're not sure, but...
It sounds like that's really low, actually, for a war film?
For a war film, but considering it's only talking about the things happening in Spokane, Washington, you know, and it's these high school kids that are sitting here doing all this stuff. It was interesting to see these Marines come in, led by Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character Tanner, and they're like, you know, we need the help of the Wolverines,
right?
And then the kids are sitting here going, okay, well, the shelter's back there. You can get food supplies there, clean up here. We're the Wolverines.
Yeah.
It was more believable in this one, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Considering they had 3 Marines instead of just
when you're
the one
a soldier
solo
in
guy.
enemy territory, you're going to need all the help you can get.
But it's home territory is the thing.
Yeah, well, people fight better on their home turf.
Right, exactly. But in the 1984 version, you only have 1 soldier teaming up with these Wolverines, whereas this one you have a team of 3.
Right.
And that seems more accurate.
I agree with that.
Most definitely. Indubitably.
Yes, that's my phrase. Anyways, the body count for 1984 version, thanks to alloutofbubblegum.com, the tally comes to 118.
Aha. So body count being 77 is
lower.
Definitely lower.
Yeah. Which, still, for a war film, I mean, I watched movies where body counts have skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm. Well, Saving Private Ryan, or...
I feel like... Yeah, that film. That fucking film. That film is
Could
probably
do that one. We Were Soldiers, Black Hawk Down. Black Hawk... no, Behind Enemy Lines is the one I'm thinking of, when he finds himself in a trench of just bodies. I'm sitting there going, wow.
I gotta pay attention to this website more, because apparently that's all they do is like count bodies throughout the entire movies. Saving Private Ryan, 243 actually, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yep.
That sounds like they covered more.
Yeah. Well, this...
And I mean, I guess it really depends on what you're covering, too. Mm-hmm. So this is a relatively new invasion. You said 118 for 1984's version?
Correct.
That seems a little bit more accurate to a newly started war and the certain time frames that they're covering here.
Right.
As compared to the 77 that were shown in the 2012 version.
You know, I feel like when it comes to one of our final segments, numbers, we should do body counts from now on.
Depending on the movie.
Yeah, depending on the movie.
It'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't really do that with...
Footloose?
Footloose. I mean, we could have done that with Ocean's 11, body count being 1.
Yep. Exactly. Well, this film and RoboCop and Batman would have been a great film. Would have been great films to do body count. So maybe I'll add that in for our next thing. So with that in mind, should we do the numbers now?
I think it's about time to do the numbers.
Number. Okay. Number time. Budgets. 1984 Red Dawn is $4.2 million, which I stated before. 2012 version, $65 million. That's a lot of money. That's spicy meatball.
That's a lot of moolah.
That's a lot of moolah. Their box office, though, 1984, $38 million. So they did really well there. They almost did 1,000% difference. Close enough. 2012 edition, $48.1 million.
They lost money.
They lost money. They lost almost $20 million coming short. That sucks.
It sucks to be MGM. That's why they had to sell the lion.
That poor lion. Dicks out for the lion.
But it's also one of those things where, you have to figure in that this is a reboot.
Yeah.
So people basically knew what was going on with this movie.
Well, it's ironic that people these days don't like reboots, and they think that.
And that's all that they're releasing, it seems, anymore.
Yeah, and well, people are saying, Hollywood's run out of ideas, and the irony there, it's our bread and butter for this show.
Exactly.
So don't hate too much, guys.
That's the whole reason we're doing this, is to sit here and say, okay, did they do it right?
Or did they do it wrong?
Yes. Do they get the approval, or do they get the boot?
Yep. IMDb ratings. Red Dawn, 1984, 6.4 out of 10 stars. 2012 version, 5.4.
Okay, so roughly in the same ballpark.
Same ballpark, but 1 star less than the original. Rotten Tomatoes, 1984, has a 53% squash rating. I don't understand that. Isn't it above 50% that it gets a fresh rating? Or is what?
Maybe 55.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But when I looked it up, it said
squashed.
Squash, yeah.
For 1984.
For 1984, 53% and a squash. Maybe it's like the old school
it might be
rating system.
Well, it might be because of that Disneyfication to sit here and kind of lighten the mood for the ending.
Well, I'm not debating the number. I'm debating Rotten Tomatoes squash versus fresh. What number considers fresh and what number considers squash. So
you're going to have to talk to their IT department about that.
Among other things. Anyways, 53%. 2012 version, 13%.
Yowzers.
A whole 40% difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's, oh my god. It was a really good film. I thought the 2012 version, if you think about films that came out this year, in the year of 2016, like Fantastic Four, maybe?
I'd rather not talk about that.
Exactly. That was a really, really low score.
That's a reboot that I hope we don't have to dive into anytime soon. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for Fantastic Four just yet.
Well, if you're not, then our audience isn't, so we won't do it yet.
Exactly.
But with that in mind, should we call the question?
Call the question.
Call the question. Zach?
Make it show number 1.
Years of Star Trek. Celebrating. Dicks out for Harambe for that. Dicks out for the lion.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. Mazel tov.
Okay,
so 1984 versus 2012. Boot or reboot? What do you think?
This is one of those ones where I'm going to have to sit here and play Switzerland on.
No.
I have to.
Nope. I did it. I did it for Batman. I really shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have. But I'm going to. I mean, both have their relevance. Both were reflecting the war possibilities in their time.
I understand that.
I am going to say that I am leaning closer to the 1984 version.
Okay.
However, in rewatching the 2012 version, I did like the fact that they kept it sort of nitty-gritty.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to Disneyficate the ending scene.
It's true. They really didn't.
They sat here and they kept to death.
Yeah.
They didn't sit here and be like, oh, well, he didn't die, everyone survives, and America wins. No, it's sitting here saying that the battle continues, that Chris Hemsworth's character, Jed,
his legacy lives on.
Just
through
like that
of
his brother Matt.
Yep. Yeah.
So
he leads the whole fight.
He leads the revolution in Spokane.
Right.
With a group of kids is the biggest thing, is that it's this group of kids.
Well, the original is a group of kids.
The original is a group of kids, but it just kind of ends.
Right.
It ends with the fact that, okay, America won.
Right.
Whereas this one's sitting here going, the fight continues. Sure, Jed Eckert passed away, but his legacy lives on through Matt and Robert and Tony, all these kids that he's sat here and trained to sit here and defend. And I mean, Matt Eckert even uses the same speech that Jed gives them.
Right.
So it's one of those big significances where it's like, is that the right word I'm looking for? Significances?
We'll go with it.
We'll go with it.
We'll go with it.
We'll add it to Webster, if anything. It's one of those big things that really draws me into the movie. So as much as I enjoy the first one and its sort of small aspect ratio of it, I do enjoy the way that the 2012 version evolves into, and doesn't sit here and sugarcoat it to sit here and be like, okay, America won. No, these people are still fighting to sit here and bring back the freedom.
So if I won't allow you to Switzerland it, where are you going to go for?
Oh, if I cannot Switzerland, if I had to cast one of these into the fiery pits of Mordor.
I have a gun to your head right now. You have to choose.
Well,
you have to choose one.
That's not fair.
Yeah, well,
because you're going to be pulling that trigger.
War is not fair. This is war, Zach.
You've got me putting new commonality versus classic characters, and it's one of those things that just it tears me apart. But
all right, well,
okay, fine. I'll have to go with the 2012 version.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going for the 1984 version, and I'll tell you why. 2012 version. I agree that Hollywood needs to maybe lighten up on the reboots a little bit.
Definitely. Although we love to have this job.
I know, we do love this job. Well, there are a lot of other reboot things we could do, like video games.
Oh. Das Digital Reboot.
Das Video Game. Das Video Game Reboot. Das Game Reboot. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, okay.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Hollywood's run out of ideas. They've got plenty of ideas. I don't think they can do a good reboot great these days. Back in the aughts, I think they could. These days, they have contingencies in place where certain digital effects are used as a template.
Mm-hmm.
Certain storyline. I don't want to say storyline, but I want to say like format for how a story progresses is a template as
certain
well.
Storyboarding.
Yes, storyboarding is a template, and they've done that with the new RoboCop. They've done that with what's a recent reboot that's come out recently? There have been so many, but
you're the one with the list. You tell me.
But this is one of them. It's because of these templates, and there's a certain word I'm looking for right now. Formula. That's the word. Certain formulas for these reboots.
There's a certain blueprint.
Blueprint, yeah. I mean, we're rebooting something that was fresh and original, and then we're inserting a blueprint upon it in order to make it, quote unquote, modern.
The thing about this movie is that it was bringing in what the 2012 version was bringing in more than what the 1984 version had.
Yeah.
They sat here and they said
modernizing it.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying modernizing, but it's more so along the lines of they're adding to it. So they're sitting here saying, okay, yes, this war is happening. These kids are sitting here fighting the antagonists.
Right.
That's happening. But they're also throwing in human emotion in there by sitting here adding a love story and the whole fact that
and a lot of people don't
Josh Peck's character, Matt Eckert, is sitting here tortured by the fact that his girlfriend, the love of his life, his only quote-unquote true family, by the way, spoiler alert, he's torn apart with the fact that he couldn't save her when he had the chance.
Right.
And then when he finally does discover her, he goes over Jed Eckert's head and sits here and puts a plan to rescue her in. And it ends up costing one of the teammates' lives.
You know, that's a plot element. And
it's a plot element, but it's also something that...
It's kind of overdone.
I don't know if it's overdone, but it was something that was missing from the original one.
Well, yeah, there was. I agree with that. Like, they cut out the whole Jed and Tony relationship.
Right, whereas the 2012 version, they emphasize on that just a little bit more.
A little bit more, yeah.
And you can definitely see that when Jed ends up being attacked.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Tony's just like so distraught with the fact that he's been hit. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things where, like, when I was watching the original one, I was looking for that sort of thing.
But it wasn't there.
Exactly. And then I got it in 2012. So it was one of those things where it drew me in a little bit more.
You know, I will compliment that film in, like, updating certain elements. Like, they carried on something from the first film into this film. And they carried that original idea into this film as well, which is great. But as far as, like, it's just not memorable to me. The 2012 version. It's just not memorable because we're living in a world today where we don't have other superpowers that really threaten the United States as much as it did back in the 80s. Maybe it didn't really threaten back in the 80s, but it sure felt like it. Today we're so well informed, well connected that it's just, we know that the United States will fall, not because of a war or some other country invading, but it'll fall because of infrastructure weakness, in a way. I mean, yeah, we could be attacked. We were attacked 2001, excuse me. God damn it.
Wow, where are you?
I am somewhere.
Hop out of the DeLorean, come to the now. Let's finish this show.
There was a politician who did that same exact thing. And it's not that I'm misinformed, it's just I'm dyslexic, okay? So fucking excuse me. Good thing I'm not a politician, you know?
Yeah. But just remember, it's not one nation underdog.
Have you ever Googled that?
I will after this show.
Yep. I just saw that on Facebook.
Just as you Googled the blue waffle, I shall Google
one nation underdog.
One nation underdog.
Yes. Well,
indispensable.
I'm going to go with 1984 in the end because it's so much more memorable. Excuse me.
Would you just get it out already?
It's all out. It's so much more memorable. The faces are so much more memorable. I mean, the only thing I really take from the new version is Chris Hemsworth, aka Thor. And I mean, yeah, there's PETA in it, but I really don't like that character to begin with. He's a good actor, but
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Hello.
Thank you. Okay, well.
Hello.
Okay.
Negan.
Yeah, but he's not Negan yet.
That reminds me, I have to catch up and find out what's going on.
Oh my God, Walking Dead.
Yeah. That's why I'm so needing Netflix to say.
Where are you right now in Walking Dead?
Not caught up.
Fair enough.
They just finished with Terminus.
Wow, you are really behind.
So yeah, they had just escaped there.
You're in for the most boring part of the show,
unfortunately.
Until Negan. I'm just going to say that.
So I need to get caught up to the point where I can be excited about Negan.
Oh yeah,
be excited with everyone else.
Oh yeah.
I know there's a couple of people that are possibly listening to this that are sitting there going, "What? I can't be friends with him anymore because he doesn't stay up to date on his Walking Dead." Well, I'm sorry, but I don't feel like paying cable. I just feel like paying for internet and Netflix.
Do you think we'll live to the day when they reboot Walking Dead?
Oh, they kind of already did with Fear the Walking Dead.
That's a spin-off. That's different. Ish. Yeah. I mean, it's a prequel to.
They at least released that on Hulu, but no, they can't do the original Walking Dead on Hulu.
I would ask Hulu to sponsor us, but really released a really bad Twitter war against them in the past year, so I don't think they're going to do that.
You never know. We may be able to get Amazon Prime on our side.
Hey, well, who doesn't love Amazon Prime? I mean,
depends if you have to pay for the membership or not.
Well, you know, services aren't cheap.
That's true.
Well, they can be. I mean, you got Prime, Hulu, and Netflix, and then you got cable where you can pay like $90 a month for it.
Well, I'd rather pay my $60 for cable and then my $10 a month for Netflix, and my brother does $10 for Hulu, and
there you go.
we share with the family. And
then you got HBO
if
now.
that's wrong,
for Game
then
of
that's
Thrones.
not.
You don't watch Game of Thrones, do you?
No, I don't watch Game of Thrones.
You really need to watch Game of Thrones.
I know, I'm fired.
You are totally fired. Well, you're not, because it's not rebooted yet. It's still fresh.
Once they reboot it, then if I haven't watched it, we'll be in trouble.
Anyways, that's all we got for Das Reboot today. Thanks
Did we
for
come to a
joining us.
conclusion?
What? You like the 2012, I like the 1984. That's the conclusion.
That's the
we have a
conclusions.
split decision.
Even though I like both, I'm forced to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, we'd like to hear from you. What do you like better, the 1984 or the 2012? You can tweet us at dasreb.com, at DASREB. No .com, actually. It's on Twitter. So tweet us on that. You can also comment on our YouTube channel where we air this. And also follow us on Facebook if you can. The Das Reboot Podcast. That's what's called on Facebook. So follow us on there. Follow us on all those social medias. And seriously, let's hear from you. Let's see what you got to say.
Give us a shout out.
Give us a shout out. Give us a shout out. We'll give you a shout out. I mean, if you really like us, we probably really like you. So we'll let you know. Wow, you're a dick.
Like you as just a friend.
Anyways, thanks for joining us. I'm Stephen Jacoby.
I'm Zachary Lyle.
And this has been Das Reboot.
Stay tuned with us for our next episode. I believe our next one we are going to be...
Well, it's in debate right now because there are several things we may want to do in recent... light of recent events.
Yes.
So we will...
According to our schedule, we have Death Takes a Holiday / Meet Joe Black as our next episode. However, we may be diving in with the recent passing of Gene Wilder. We may be diving into the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory versus Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Exactly.
So stay tuned with us. We're still debating that, but we may have a extra special episode coming up.
I'm just going to say one thing. We did not have a That 70s Show reference in this episode.
That's the one thing I'm kind of disappointed of, is I didn't see
Anything.
anything.
Fuck. I'm disappointed. Anyways, thanks for joining us, and good night, and good luck.
Das Vidanya.
До свидания.
Das Re-boot!